Goedendag, welkom vanuit de studio van de Academie voor de Rechtspraktijk. U kijkt naar een nieuwe aflevering in de serie Topsporters ontmoeten topadvocaten. En we hebben vandaag twee toppers. Ik ben benieuwd hoe ze straks zelf over het woord top nadenken. En we praten zoals gebruikelijk in deze serie over de overeenkomsten, maar ook de verschillen tussen de wereld van het recht en de wereld van de sport. Hoeveel karaktertrekken heb je nodig om in een van die twee werelden te kunnen overleven of succesvol te zijn? We gaan het in het Engels doen, because one of our guests is English. A hockey player, Sophie Bray, welcome.
Thank you.
Next to you is Kyoko Tollenaar. You're a lawyer. Let's first make a quick introduction for the people that don't know you. In your case, there's not a whole lot of people who probably don't know you. I was looking you up, and there is this very long list of achievements. Medals, finals, semi-finals. The big one, of course, being the gold medal in Rio. Here were you. Is this picture taken in Rio?
Yeah. That was after the final.
You're the second from left, huh?
Yeah.
So how comfortable are you with people calling you a star, a sports star? Or is that really odd?
Yeah, it's really odd. Especially after Rio, the interest in our sport, especially back in the UK, is huge, and you have young kids telling you that you're their idol.
They look up to you.
Yeah, people want your autograph, want a photo with you, and yeah, it's an absolute honour to think that potentially you're inspiring young girls, young boys to play hockey and play the sport.
What is it, do you think, what's the inspiring part? Is it fame, or is it, to have achieved something?
I think achievement, to be successful at anything is inspiring for people, and ultimately that's people's goals. People want to be successful and achieve.
Yeah. Kyoko, you work for a law firm, Houthoff Buruma. It's a rather famous one in our country. Can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself? You worked already for a longer period, as I understand.
I started working there in 2003.
Yeah.
I went to law school in Leiden. This is my first job actually after university. I work in corporate M&A. And I'm actually not what we call an advocaat, but I'm a notary, which is in the UK totally unknown. So,
is that the case? Is it in the UK? It's
yes,
not
in the UK and
title.
in the US, civil notary is not. You have got solicitors, and, but not, and of course lawyers, but not notary. So when I'm in the UK or when I'm working with counterparties in the US, I always just say that I'm a corporate lawyer, because that's easier to understand.
That's what they understand.
That's what they understand, a corporate M&A lawyer.
How comfortable are you with a introduction of me, talking about stars, stars of law meeting the stars of sports? Do you see yourself, not as a star, but someone who's achieved quite a bit in your field?
Well, I absolutely don't see myself as a star. But what I do think, if I talk to young lawyers who start at our firm, they all want to be a good lawyer and they all want to learn a lot. And I also teach. So I think that I want to be an example. I want to be a role model in that way, in that sense of the word, but I don't think that I'm a star. I'm absolutely not there yet.
Maybe the word is a role model. That's probably a better description.
Yes.
So you recognize a little bit of, younger people wanting to learn, looking up to you, and saying, wow, well, how did you achieve what you have achieved?
Well, I do remember that when I started as a trainee at our firm, that I looked up to people who were longer than 10 years with the firm. So I hope that I can be that role model for the younger lawyers at our firm as well.
Sophie, are you being invited a lot by, businesses or at corporate events to speak about, being a sportswoman?
Yeah, definitely. You get a range, whether it's businesses that kind of want to know what was the story behind the team, or corporate events, schools as well. We've done quite a lot of school visits.
What is the interest, do you think? I mean, what do they want to learn then?
I think it's the power of an effective team, a team that have that shared common goal and are so dedicated to achieve it together. And a team is extremely complex, and so many things can work well, but so many things can go wrong. And being a team is a unique situation which happens all the time in businesses and in law and stuff like that. So,
what is your advice if they ask, how to become a team? We won our gold medal, but how do we do it?
Tough question. For us, it was about having the right culture, so that we were all on the same page in terms of what we expected of each other, and we delivered that day in, day out for the whole cycle, so for a period of 4 years. It wasn't a case of a month before the Olympics, okay, we'll do this and this. It was day to day for a long period of time, and through that time you grow as a team.
Do you understand this fascination with the world of sports, coming from the professional world?
Absolutely. I mean, I love sports, and I think it's very, very important that that people who go and work in a particular law, that they know something about being a team and working in a team. Because on every case that you work with several people. You work with what we call Advocatuur, lawyers, the notaries, but also tax specialists. You also have to work with your client. So it's very, very important that you are able to cooperate with different kinds of people on one case.
Did you ever attend a meeting with a sports man or woman who was just explaining about how it works in the world of sports?
Yes, and I think it's very interesting. Kim Lammers gave a speech about that, and she actually told me how Max Caldas brought them to a stadium, the Dutch girls, and they had to do all these kind of silly things for team building. Did you also on your way to Rio did these kind of things? Yeah, so obviously what we do on the pitch is important, but also how we are off the pitch together is just as important, and it's interesting to learn about each other in scenarios that are completely different from hockey. So we had a trip where we went to the Royal Marines.
Okay.
For a few days, and that was very challenging, and under highly pressurized situations, that's where you see the real persons, and you get to know your teammates the most. And we do a lot of team meetings together about psychological issues that will help us give that extra edge. So your teammate, what they are on a good day, what they're on a bad day, how they want to be communicated, how to get the best out of each other. So we spend a lot of time on kind of getting to know each other and how we react to different situations. So come an Olympic final, when things aren't going well, we know how to kind of get each other together and sort it out. Right. Yeah.
And the interesting thing that Kim also told us was that at those kind of situations that you actually learn the particular role that everybody has in a team. Because you don't need 11 leaders on the pitch.
No, of course not.
You need some followers, you need some leaders. Yeah. So indeed, if you come into the situation either when you're working on a case as a lawyer or as a sportswoman, that you know who will actually take the lead at that point and who will take that role.
Yeah, definitely. You need your leaders, and you need a few of them, but at the same time, you also need a group of good followers that will listen, that will do their task. And I think that's what was so special about the team in Rio, is everyone had their own role and everyone knew what their role was. And during those 2 weeks, everyone just went about doing their role, and that's it. And that, I think, was a big factor in our success.
How would you characterize yourself? Are you one of the leaders in the pitch?
No, I'd say I'm a good follower. Okay. I will speak up when I feel strongly that something needs to be said and I have a strong opinion. But yeah, I will.
But are you vocal during the games? Will you shout? Will you call attention to?
I would say I'm fairly quiet, but I will say something if things aren't going too well. And at the same time, now as I'm getting older and going on to another cycle, I'm now more of a senior player, and so that will be the challenge for me, is to kind of learn from the senior players from the cycle before, to develop those leadership roles and help the younger ones kind of learn international sport.
Do you need followers, leaders within law teams?
Well, I do think if you look at a perfect team, maybe not followers and leaders, but you need to have specialists on every kind of particular part of the law. And I also think maybe that's it's comparable to a team. If you're a freshman with a team, you probably would easier take a more following role. And the same is, of course, in a law firm. If you're a junior, if you're a trainee, and you start working at a particular case, you are probably aware that there are some older lawyers that know more, or that you can learn a lot from. So it's when I was younger, I was more in a following role and learning a lot, and doing assignments, small parts of assignments, part of a bigger case. While now, when I'm a little bit older, I try to delegate things to the junior lawyers in our team, and we work together to get that success.
But it takes self-confidence, of course, to play that role and
experience,
take responsibility and experience.
Yeah.
So
it comes with the experience, I think, that it's easier to take that role.
There is, of course, one big similarity probably, in that you both need to win. I mean, there is a win at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, with the world of sport, it's obvious, but also you need to win your case.
Yes, well, the thing is, you
need to win for your client the best deal.
The best, of course, the best deal for the client. But I think that there's a big difference between being a litigator, and you're actually in court and you have to win for your client, or in my particular field, in M&A, so there's somebody who wants to sell his business, and there's somebody who wants to buy his business. And if you're representing the purchaser, the buyer, you obviously want to have the best deal for him or her. But in the end, you're advising that way that everybody's happy. In a way. So yes, you have to win, but I think in sports you really have to win. Like a litigator has more similarity to maybe sports and really winning, while a civil law notary always has to overview all the objectives in a certain case.
But I guess you both need to be competitive in your field.
Yes.
As a character trait. I mean, it's not. You can't be just someone who goes to work and think, well, I'll do my job today, and it doesn't really matter if I'm finished in time or not. So it needs probably the same type of people.
Yeah, and
in order to succeed.
I agree. There has to be that inner competitiveness, but also I think the environment that is created, whether it's a law firm or in our training squad, can help encourage people to be competitive. So there will always be some people that are more competitive than others. But
how can you train that? How can you?
I think you can create an environment that's competitive. So we did a lot of stuff on, if during training, if you make the training competitive, then that can relay into the matches. Whereas if the training is not competitive, how do you get that competitiveness into your matches?
Yeah.
So that was a big focus for us, and again, it's the senior experienced players that help the younger ones. Kind of, this is competitiveness. This is what sport's about. Sort of set an example for the younger ones to follow.
How difficult is it for you that it all boils down to that winning, a final?
Yeah.
Because, for example, we remember the Dutch women's squad as losing the final, but they actually did really, really well.
Yeah.
But you remember them, being the second. That must be hard to deal with.
Yeah, they always say
there is no grey area.
Bronze medalists are normally happier than silver medalists.
Yeah. Because at least they won something.
They end with a win.
Yeah.
No, true.
Yeah, it's difficult, and in our sport, the nature of the nature of our sport is that also as well as the winning and the medals, with that comes funding to be able to train full time. So there's added pressures to our performance. We knew going into Rio, if either of the GB men's or women's team didn't medal, our funding would likely to be cut, and you see sports where that's happened, and it is quite brutal. But
you don't want to be thinking about these things,
no,
of
you
course.
don't. And as a player, you don't. During those 2 weeks in Rio, you don't. You're thinking about being on the top of that podium, but there is that wider picture that adds.
You talk about it during dinners and the consequences.
Yeah, it's a kind of. It's a hidden. No one really talks about it, but everyone knows it's there.
What will happen after?
Playing for the future of your sport, and for the younger kids who want to.
And ultimately, again, there's the winning, but we also want to leave our sport in a better place for the youngsters coming through.
When was it obvious for you and for the people around you that you would become a top hockey player?
Oof, I don't know. I guess my kind of journey to the top was quite step by step. It was gradual, and I kind of took it, played junior England, then went to university, then played senior England. It was a gradual stage, and so it kind of just crept up on me, really. I didn't kind of really think from the age of 15.
You didn't wake up when you were 14 thinking, one day I will be in the Rio winning...
No, it just kind of gradually happened, and obviously there is some drive that I want to be the best that I can be and play as high as I possibly can and win medals on the world stage, but that's kind of gradually happened.
What would you say is your biggest achievement so far?
Olympic gold medal.
That's it. That's what you'll do. Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Yeah, that for sure.
At the beach.
Yeah, that was on the Copacabana. Yeah.
It's rather heavy, right? The medal.
Yeah, it's about 500 grams. 500 grams. And I remember standing on the podium when it went on me. I was like, my first reaction was like, wow, this is heavy, and I think everyone I showed the medal to, the first thing they say is, whoa, it's heavy. So yeah, it's a weighty piece of, well, a little bit of gold.
What is your gold medal? I mean, do you work with bonuses? Do you work with what is,
Oh, that's
when you're a granny and you talk to your grandchildren later.
That's a difficult question. I think the reason why I really love my job is to actually help people. And the part that civil notaries are really good at the Dutch civil code. That's what we excel in a way. So what I really like to is think about creative stuff. If the lawyers get stuck in a certain case and they come to me and then they ask me, how can we solve this? And I think, okay, let me think about it. Maybe we can solve it this way or that way, but within the thresholds and the borders of the Dutch civil code. If that works out and the client is happy, then I'm happy. So yeah, but there's not a particular transaction or M&A deal that I think that if you ask for a gold medal, that I immediately think, well, that's the case.
I remember
at the end of the week because there are certain situations when you have an all-nighter or something, and then you're so happy when the transaction has been a success. But it's not a particular case, or it's just there are some. I remember some difficult situations that I was really happy that I could keep calm and act the way that I did, and then at the end it was success and everybody was happy. So it's more an advisor role. If that works out, then I'm happy. But there's not a certain specific transaction that comes into mind. What makes you successful in your field? What do people say? Well, Gyoko, these are the qualities that you excel in. Well, I think that if I ask my clients afterwards, so to evaluate what went well and what went wrong, they think that I'm really pragmatic. So thinking about creative solutions, making the deal go smoothly, being on a beck and call, you know, just being alert if they need you at whatever day of the hour, being available, thinking along. I hope that they always say that I'm their trusted advisor. You know, that if they have
a good compliment.
Yeah, that if they have a question, that they can come to me and I can help them out. Yeah.
So when did you know that you would become a notary, and was that already a long time ago, or did it also just grow on you?
It just grew on me, actually. Yeah, I was in university, and then I thought, okay, what shall I do? And I really liked civil law. At first I thought I wanted to do international law because my mother's Japanese, my father's Dutch, so I thought that would be a good combination. It would be obvious to do something international. But I went to this information evening on notarial law, and it really grabbed me, and I really liked it. So I just tried it and rolled into it. Yeah.
You're also a hockey player.
Used to be. Well, I still play, but
once hockey player,
always a hockey player.
So you still play
with the veterans.
With the veterans.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment that you could have persuaded a?
Not really. I was okay. There were some regional teams, you know, North Holland and South Holland, and I was selected to do the pre trainings, but I was never selected for the eventual team. So, and I never played the highest level in the Netherlands. I did play National League, but underneath the highest level. So no, there was no moment that I thought, okay, let's.
How come so many lawyers play hockey? I don't know how that is in the UK, but
yeah, it's similar. The same? Yeah. A lot of hockey players kind of do have sort of university degrees, be it law or one of the girls actually that was in the photo next to me. She is a lawyer, and she's currently working with a law firm.
Which one?
Not this one. The one with the four of us on the pitch.
They'll look it up.
Yeah. Georgie Twigg, so she's she did a law degree and she's pursuing her law career. Georgie, wow. So.
And about what is your explanation for the situation in Holland?
I think that a lot of people start playing hockey during their college years, maybe. In the Netherlands, it starts at a more younger age, but I think it's a certain environment in which you grow up. Is
it a bit of an elitist sport still?
Not anymore in the Netherlands. I think it's accessible for everybody. Yeah.
It is accessible, but it doesn't mean that a lot of people take advantage of.
I think in the Netherlands it's the most popular sport for girls.
Okay.
And soccer is for or football for boys.
What's next for you? I mean, you talk about Georgie being...
Yeah, so I have a degree in psychology, and I'm currently doing a master's in occupational psychology, so business psychology, because I am hugely interested in how what you can learn from sport can be translated into business. So kind of looking at how psychology in the workplace can affect people. And it's very much a case of developing your career alongside my hockey. I want to be in a position where when I do retire, I'm not sure when that will be, but when I do retire, the transition into my next adventure, my career, is as smooth as possible.
But is it difficult to have these parallel worlds
really
at the moment?
Yeah, it is difficult, and you have to be flexible in terms of your study. And if you're looking to do part-time work, and especially if you want to kind of work with companies, because of the nature of our training and we're away a lot, it is really difficult. So a lot of us are studying because it gives us that flexibility to do our training alongside something else.
Could you combine two, parallel worlds that you need to achieve something?
Well, the funny thing is that I stopped playing field hockey, I think, 3 or 4 years ago on a more active level than the veterans.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that students always ask me when I went to student groups or talk about Houthoff was, how can you combine that with your work at Houthoff? And I always said, well, you know, I work with a lot of international clients, and if I went to training between, let's say, 8 and 10 o'clock in the evening, because of the time difference. In the US, it was lunchtime.
Yeah.
So they don't mind if you do your work until 6 in the evening, and then you just, you know, I'm not available for the next 2 hours. They're going for lunch in the US, and then, you know, at 10 o'clock when I got home, I just got up behind the computer and did the rest. Yeah. So it's the good part about working at a law firm is that you get a lot of responsibilities. So it's actually very flexible. As long as you do your job, as long as the client is happy, you can use your own hours the way you want to. Yeah.
Is it, you say you are fascinated, you know, to combine actually the world of sports and business. What's the fascination?
I think having, I mean, I've worked a little bit with a company, and so I've worked in the business world a little bit, and I believe that both can learn from each other. There's things that sports teams can take from law firms and businesses, and vice versa. And it's interesting that they're in certain ways really similar, but in certain ways really different. Really some things we think are really basic for us as a functioning team in sport is not heard about in certain business teams.
Yeah. Talking about, you know, talent in contrast to hard work.
Yeah.
How would you describe yourself? How much talent and how much hard work is there?
Hard work will always beat talent when talent doesn't work hard enough. Simple.
Okay.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, 100%. And I think those that have a talent are fortunate, but you have to, if you have a talent in whatever it is, I think you need to use it as much as you possibly can.
But are you saying that a Messi needs to work just as hard as a player who plays second division somewhere?
He does, but then if he can probably achieve, he will. If he works just as hard, his potential will be greater. But it doesn't stop that Division 2 player from making it to the highest level that he wishes.
Yeah. Being a notary, how much talent do you need, and how much just hard work and read and know your stuff? And
I think it's very comparable to sports, actually. Yeah. I think you know it's good if you understand, if you read a document and you have a talent for spotting whatever you need to read, so you can do that quicker than the average. But in the end, it's hard work as well. So it's a combination of both.
Do you see, the both of you, I heard that in another conversation, that you know, younger people that actually starting their career either in sports or in a professional way, that they don't want to work so hard anymore. When it comes to hard work, they say, I don't know.
I think it's a new generation.
No, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Is it also with you know, if you tell someone, you know, if you really want to become the next me, you really need to work hard. You just can't, you know.
Yeah, and it's very hard. It's very hard to get those messages across to young people, because you can say that if you wanna get to the top, you need to work hard. But the meaning of hard work to everyone is different. Hard work to someone may be completely different to hard work to someone else.
But is it, you know, different now compared to, say, 10 years ago already, or 15 years ago?
I must admit that
the definition of hard work.
Well, not the definition of hard work. I just think that I see a difference between people who started like 5 years ago and today. Work-life balance is so important today. I think it was, I mean, when I started working, my work-life balance was important as well. I wanted to be able to go to field hockey training, and I wanted to work. I wanted to do both. But now, if you look at a group of students, let's say 100, they graduate from law school. It used to be like 60% or so that wanted to go with a top law firm. Now it's less, because there are a lot of young lawyers they prefer work-life balance, so they prefer not to go and work for a law firm that asks a lot of hard work. Do they achieve less?
Can you already see, you know, the difference between someone who didn't put in the hours and someone who did?
Well, I think...
Or do you have actually a painful conclusion that you can achieve the same things with working less hard?
I think the selection is more in the beginning. You know, the young lawyers that are competitive and that want to achieve the highest from themselves, they actually come to us or to other law firms, other peers, and they do very well. But I think that we have less students that are interested because of the work-life balance that becomes more and more important to youngsters.
What about the influx of talented, hardworking young boys and girls that want to just be the best?
It's difficult because until you're in that environment where you are training full time, obviously you have to combine your studies or your school with hockey, and that is a difficult balance to have. And for me, it was a case of just managing your time as effectively as possible. If you can plan and you can work out, okay, I have this deadline coming up for my university, but I've got this amount of time, and you then have to fit things in, and you can't fit everything in. There are things that you miss out on, but that's part of what you do and what you choose to do. We kind of say, often people talk about making sacrifices, but at the end of the day, it's not a sacrifice, it's a choice. Yeah. You choose not to do it because you want to.
Do you see a difference in between the Netherlands and the UK? You play now at Kampong, for example, in Utrecht. Is there a different attitude towards, you know, achieving and becoming the best and wanting to be the best?
No, I think it's fairly similar. I think it's hard to compare because the culture of hockey here is so different to that of the UK.
Really?
In terms of clubs, yeah.
In what way?
You have kids that are 6 or 7 training 3 times a week, or kind of turning up whenever they can. They're wanting to play hockey. They live and breathe hockey out here, whereas we haven't quite got that in the UK with hockey. You have it with football, but with hockey we haven't quite got that, and that's what I love about here in the Netherlands is people live and breathe hockey, and it's so great to see.
Is that already, because I know, for example, that in the United States they look at us, especially in Northern Europe, and they don't understand all this, you know, quality time that we want and all the. Do you see how are we in Holland when it comes to just choosing for hard work and going for your job and, you know, becoming the best of the best of the best?
Well, I think one of the tests that they did is that Dutch children are one of the happiest children in the world. And I also thought that there was some similar kind of test that Dutch people are one of the happiest people in the world.
I think we're ranking 3rd or 2nd.
Yeah, I think Scandinavia is doing even better than we are.
That's paradise, but we're close to paradise.
We're close to paradise. Well, I think it totally depends on what kind of field of business you're in, and I agree that it also depends on culture. Because if I compare the Netherlands and my colleagues to, for example, Japanese lawyers or the Japanese culture, I believe we work hard, but they work much harder. Yeah. They like you said, breathe hockey and live hockey. Japanese people breathe and live for their firm. So if you compare the Dutch people to the Japanese people, there's a difference there, and that's a culture thing. But I think we're doing pretty good in the Netherlands. Yeah.
Talking about being you've led an international life, being able to travel everywhere. Yeah. But I don't want to spoil your fun. When Brexit is a reality, you just can't play here. You know, there's lots of different rules coming up for you.
Yeah, I think...
You can't just live within the EU anymore.
Yeah, I think my case is probably... There are the bigger hurdles the country has to tackle, and the next couple of years is going to be very interesting for Great Britain, and I guess that there is an amount of uncertainty, and that's probably the most worrying thing for people. And it's just a case of seeing what happens these next 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a final question for the both of you. When you talk to a youngster, or maybe to your own kids, I don't. You have.
I have a daughter of 2.
Okay, you don't. What will you tell them that was not necessary to achieve what you achieved? Something that you did yourself, and that you now, looking back, think, "Ah, that was just ridiculous." I mean, if someone just had told me not to do that, but I thought that was necessary to achieve what I've achieved.
To worry less.
You worried in the sense of.
Yeah, worried about. Ultimately, worrying's not going to help anything. Whether it's performance pressures or am I good enough? Am I going to make it? Those sort of worrying's never helps.
It's waste of time.
Yeah. Waste of energy, waste of time.
Yeah. Anything for you?
I think that I would like her to not compare herself to others, but just be herself. I hope that I can give her enough trust and confidence that she can just be herself, and she doesn't have to compare herself to others. Sure, you can look up to a role model if it helps you, but just be yourself. I hope that she can do that. Yeah. Looking
at the future, I mean, you really need to change. I mean, you can't be a hockey player forever. No. But in your case, is there a moment that you think,
I hope that I could be a hockey player forever as well.
But I mean, there's not a moment in time that you think, okay, now I really need to, think of my options, and that's a big difference probably when you compare the two of you.
Yeah.
There's not a moment when you're 30 or 34 or 5. That's.
Well, I do hope that. What I told myself a couple of years ago, to evaluate every 2 years. Because before you know it, you're 60 and you're still doing the same thing. If that's something that, motivates you and makes you happy and gives you energy, then that's fine, of course. Yeah. But I think it's important to have some sort of self-evaluation every 2 years. Is this still what gives me energy? Yeah.
We taped this program at the end of the day. So what is tomorrow for a hockey player?
Tomorrow for hockey, on the pitch at 10 till 12 training, lunch with the team meeting, looking at the video from our game on the weekend before, then back on the pitch 2 till 4, shower, get changed, head to the library to finish off my essay, and then dinner.
What is your life like tomorrow? Well, we start at 8:30 with a team meeting. Then I have several calls tomorrow, actually. It sounds very boring. I have a call at 12, then I have a meeting at 3, another call at 4, another call at 5, and another call at 6. And then actually, because if you have a day with all meetings and calls, you can't actually do the work. So then after that, we'll start doing the work. Well, yeah. So far for comparing your busy lives. Schedule, both. Well, it's both busy in a different way. Okay, well, thank you so much for talking to me and talking to each other. Thank you. Sophie and Kyoko, good luck, both of you. Thank you, it was a pleasure. Thank you. And we'll follow, of course, what will happen next, especially in your life. U heeft gekeken naar de serie waarin we sporters en advocaten, in dit geval notarissen, aan tafel zetten om met elkaar te praten en van gedachten te wisselen over de overeenkomsten en de verschillen tussen de twee werelden. Het was opnieuw interessant en ik wil jullie beiden bedanken. En u thuis bedankt voor het kijken en graag tot de volgende aflevering.